الآن ريبورتاج.
Welcome you all, ladies and gentlemen, in a new episode of Reportage with me, Samar Al-Yarimi. And of course, we're going to begin our first segment here, the news. And as usual in the news, we're going to mention the coalition's raids, and the warplanes of the coalition launched raids and bombardments on the various Yemeni provinces and the regions as well, causing material damages to the properties of citizens. For example, in Sara, a woman was killed and another woman along with a man were wounded due to the Saudi rocket and artillery attack in Razeh border district. Also, 5 civilians were injured in a raid on a truck in Bani Awir area of Sahar district. Still in Sara, where the warplanes waged a series of raids on different areas of the province. The planes hit with 7 raids the different areas of Bakum district and hit with a raid Moran area in Haidan district and launched a raid on Jabal Manamar in Sakin district and finally waged a raid on Al-Ammar area in Safra district. The Saudi army also targeted by rocket and artillery shelling the different areas of Zahar, Shara, Razeh and Bakum border districts. Local sources said that more than 100 rockets and artillery shells were fired at the Shara border areas during the past few hours, causing damages to the civilian homes and farms. In Hodeida, the warplanes of the coalition launched 3 raids on a farm of citizens in the village of Sharaf in Al-Hali district, in a raid also in Al-Kathab area, and hit with several raids Mermaid Military College. So that's it in the news. We're going to move on to our next segment, Outside In. We have multiple topics talking about Yemen in the world of the press, and the beginning is gonna be from UN News, and we read this headline: as peace talks falter, crisis in Yemen deepens. And from the national interest website.com, we read this headline: Yemen's Houthis want UN guarantees for delegation as peace talks stall. And from the Globe and Mail, we come across this headline: what the US-backed slaughter of children in Yemen looks like. Warning, the images are extremely graphic. And from the Washington Post website, we read this headline: Saudi Arabia admits killing civilians in Yemen. And from the Oxfam website, we come across this headline as well: activists arrested for blocking Boeing arms plant speak out against Yemen war. And finally, from the IRC website, we read this headline: are the US and UK empowering Al-Qaeda in Yemen? So they're questioning about were they empowering Al-Qaeda in Yemen. And finally, that's it in Outside In. To our report. We picked up our report from the Voice of America website, and we start with this headline: Yemen's Houthis want UN guarantees for delegation as peace talks stall. And we read this headline as well: Yemen's Houthi group said Friday that it was still waiting for the United Nations to guarantee that the flight carrying its delegation to peace talks in Geneva wouldn't be inspected by Saudi coalition forces and could evacuate some of its wounded. In the details, they say UN procured talks to end Yemen's 3-year war were meant to begin the day before, but only representatives of government of Abdurrabbu Mansour Hadi turned up as the Houthis insisted their plan to Geneva be allowed to evacuate dozens of injured people to neighboring Oman. A Houthi leader said the United Nations is now facing a choice where it should prove that it refuses the violation of the international and humanitarian law, not allowing the Omani plan to take the delegation and the wounded as a flagrant violation. Houthi group also wanted guarantees that their planned supply by Oman wouldn't have to stop in Djibouti for inspection in both directions after being six-rated there would be by the Saudi-led military coalition last time for months. The Saudi-led coalition intervened in Yemen's war against the Houthis in 2015 with the aim of restoring Hadi's government. Subsequent peace talks flopped. Since then, the humanitarian situation has worsened sharply, putting 8.4 million people on the brink of starvation and ruining the already weak economy. The United Nations wants the Yemeni government and the Houthis to work toward a peace deal, remove foreign forces for Yemen, and establish a national unity government. Martin Griffiths, the UN Special Envoy for Yemen who stood up the talks, the first in 3 years, has met the last 2 days only with Hadi government delegation in Geneva. A UN spokesman told the briefing Friday that his discussions including humanitarian access, the reopening of Sana'a report, and the issue of prisoners. Griffiths was working hard to get the Houthi delegation to Geneva, but the main stumbling blocks were in its itinerary to the Swiss city and demands for evacuating war-wounded from Sana'a, diplomats and UN sources said. Later, a UN statement said that Griffiths would give a news conference in Geneva on Saturday morning, but gave no clue as to whether he would be in position to announce a breakthrough. The Yemeni government delegation is under pressure from allied Arab countries and the United States to stay in Geneva. Matthew Truller, U.S. ambassador to Yemen, now based in Saudi Arabia, told reporters that the absence of Houthi delegation doesn't mean that this has been a failure. It doesn't mean that we stop doing that we're doing in Geneva. If they don't come, we'll all be disappointed. But as I said, I think the presence of the government delegation here has enabled all of us to make some progress on some of the issues of release of prisoners, perhaps even some of the ways that would allow for greater access of travel, has said. Tuller pressed on the issue of travel, said one of the issues that was to have been discussed here and that there was a lot of preparatory work would actually have enabled regular flights to evacuate wounded for treatment abroad, and so it's disappointing that the delegation from Sana'a isn't here or hasn't been able to be here to actually produce the results that we wanted to see. So it's a little bit complicated to talk about such a situation that even consultation, because Martin Griffith mentioned that it's only consultations and nothing more. It's not negotiations right there in Geneva, and maybe it's a step forward for such negotiations, because it's only a consultation, as they mentioned before. And even consultation, they are putting for it conditions from both sides. But I guess that even from the southern groups, they said that Geneva consultations would not do more and would not do good for both sides or for all of the sides for Yemen. But I wish that it would. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move on to our next segment. Our character for today in a name, he is one of the best and greatest tennis player. He's Roger Federer. He has won a record of 20 Grand Slam singles titles. So he was born in 1981 in Switzerland. Roger Federer was among his country's top junior tennis players by age 11. He turned pro in 1998, and with his victory at Wimbledon in 2003, he became the first Swiss man to win a Grand Slam single title. Federer has won a record-setting 20 Grand Slam single championships. In July 2017, the tennis star won a record-breaking 8th Wimbledon title at the age of 35. As of 2018, Federer rakes in $70 million per year and has a total estimated net worth of $450 million, according to Celebrity Net Worth. In 2009, Federer married Mirka Vavernik, a former professional tennis player. That July, the couple became the parents of identical twin girls, Mila and Charlene. On May 6, 2014, the couple welcomed their second set of twins, boys Leo and Lenny. Federer lives with his family in Bottemingen, Switzerland. Federer won the Wimbledon boys singles and doubles titles in 1998. He turned professional later that year. At Wimbledon 2001, he caused a sensation by knocking out reigning singles champion Pete Sampras in the fourth round. In 2003, following a successful season on grass, Federer became the first Swiss man to win the Grand Slam title when he emerged victorious at Wimbledon. At the beginning of 2004, Federer had a world ranking of number 2, and that same year he won the Australian Open, the US Open, the ATP Masters, and retained the Wimbledon singles titles. He was ranked number 1 at the start of 2005, and his successes that year include the Wimbledon single titles for a third successive year and the US Open as well. Federer held on to his number 1 ranking from 2004 into 2008. In 2006 and 2007, he won the singles championships of the Australian Open, Wimbledon, and the US Open. A paragon of graceful athleticism, Federer was named the lowest world sportsman of the year from 2005 till 2008. In 2008, Federer beat Scottish player Andy Murray at the US Open. His 5th US Open win, however, that year proved to be a difficult time in Federer's career. He lost to rival Rafael Nadal at both the French Open and Wimbledon, and lost to another young star, Novak Djokovic, at the 2008 Australian Open. His ranking also slid to number 2 for the first time in 4 years. The 2009 season was a memorable one of the Swiss star. He beat Robin Soderling to win the French Open and complete the career Grand Slam, and defeated Andy Roddick in an epic Wimbledon final to surpass Sampras for record 15th Grand Slam single title. Federer also reaches the finals of the 2 other major tournaments, falling in 5 sets of tour to Nadal at the Australian Open and to Juan Martín del Potro at the US Open. His brilliant all-round play enabled him to regain the world's number 1 ranking. Federer's career escalated once again in 2012 when he defeated Andy Murray for record-tying 7th Wimbledon single title. The victory helped the 30-year-old tennis star return to the number 1 spot. And by the end of the year, he had established a record with a total of 302 weeks atop the world rankings. In 2013, Federer made a surprise departure from Wimbledon. He was knocked out at the singles competition in the second round by Sergei Stakhovsky, who was ranked 116th at that time. At the US Open, Federer again struggled on the court. He was beaten by Spain's Tommy Robredo in the 4th round, losing in 3 straight sets. According to the US Open website, Federer admitted that he struggled throughout, which is not very satisfying. His confidence seemingly shaken by the lose. He lamented how he missed so many opportunities, and that his rhythm was off during the match. Federer battled Djokovic at the 2014 men's single final at Wimbledon, but was denied a record 8th championship on the famed grass course in a 5-set lose. He then lost in the semi-finals of the US Open to hard-hitting Croatian Marin Cilic, who went on to win the tournament. In July 2016, Federer didn't make it to the Wimbledon finals either. He was defeated in 5 sets by Milos Raonic in a historic victory for Raonic, and who became the first Canadian man to reach the Grand Slam final earlier that year. Federer lost the Australian Open by Novak, and after their own match, Federer was sidelined with a knee injury. Later in the season, Federer suffered back problems as well, and he was forced to withdraw from the French Open to avoid further injury. After 6 months spent recuperating for his injuries, Federer made a triumphant comeback, defeating Rafael Nadal at the Australian Open to win his 18th Grand Slam title. After his win, Federer graciously paid tribute to his opponent Nadal. "I'd like to congratulate Rafa on an amazing comeback too," he said. "I don't think either one of us thought we would be in the final at the Australian Open this year. I'm happy for you. I would have been happy to lose you tonight too, really." And in July 2017, Federer set a new record, winning his 8th Wimbledon title in 6-3, 6-1, 6-4, defeated of Marin Cilic. 35-year-old Federer will also become the oldest men champion of the tournament in the Open era. "I wasn't sure if I was ever going to be here again in another final after last year," he said. "I've had some tough ones here, losing to Novak in 2014 and 2015 as well. But I always believed that maybe I would come back, or I could come back and do it again. And if you believe, you can go really far in your own life." At the Australian Open in January 2018, Federer again defeated Cilic, at this time in 5 sets as well, to claim a record-tying 6 Aussies titles and extend overall trophy haul to an astounding 20 Grand Slam singles championships. After sitting out the clay court season for a second consecutive year, he returned to the grass courts to Wimbledon, where he again added to a personal record by reaching the tournament's quarterfinals for the 16th time in his own career, before bowing out with a 5-set lose to South Africa's Kevin Anderson. So what a great biography that Rafael Nadal, that he'd been through a lot of lose, but after all, he won and he defeated. That was in 2018. So be Rafael Nadal. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this is it in Reportage. I hope that we're gonna meet in another episode with me, Samara Yarimi. So see ya.
Outrageous. You've got to see this again. Perfection.
That's when you appreciate rugby.
Finding that very short angle.
Well, Federer holding on in that point. Davydenko again was in control. And then just a touch of genius there at the end from Federer.
What a stretch. Had no right to get there. The big right step, and he got there in time.
Well, is this Roger Federer's night? Because this is a shank. That's off the bottom of the frame. And how much string did he get on this? Not much. That was at the top of the...